You know, when we talk about the rise of the machines these days, I think everyone pictures, well, the future, right? Self-driving trucks, AI, maybe writing screenplays, those really advanced robots in factories.
Right. The focus is always on what's coming, the big disruption that's just around the corner.
Exactly. And we worry constantly about massive job losses tomorrow.
But the sources we're looking at today, they tell a quieter story, maybe a more compelling one. Because the first huge wave of automation, the one that really shook up a major white-collar sector.
It wasn't last year in some data center.
No, not at all. It happened decades ago, really stealthily, in plain sight almost. And it kind of set the stage, established the pattern for the disruption we're seeing now.
That's it, precisely. The fear automation, it's real, absolutely.
Right.
But the machine that we kind of missed because we just got so used to it, well, that's the focus of this deep dive.
Yeah, the humble ATM.
The automated teller machine. Our mission today is really to unpack this hidden automation, to track how it was adopted, look at its, frankly, staggering impact on banking jobs, using the UK timeline as this really precise case study.
Yeah, it's a fantastic snapshot, historically speaking. Shows how this quiet, localized tech can just ripple outwards and cause these huge shifts in labor globally.
So let's start with maybe the most basic point, because I think for a lot of listeners, calling an ATM a robot, it sounds a bit like a stretch, doesn't it? It's just a box. It gives you cash.
Right. Is it really a robot?
Can we actually, scientifically call it that?
Yes.
Yeah.
We absolutely can. And this is where I think we need to shift away from the Hollywood idea of a robot, walking, talking.
Right. Cylons or Terminators.
Exactly. And look at the engineering definition. A robot, fundamentally, it's a system that can do three things. Perceive its environment, make a decision based on that, and then act on the environment.
Okay. Perceive, decide, act.
And it uses mechanical parts, electronics, software, all working together to do a job that a human used to do.
And the ATM fits that perfectly.
Completely. Think about it. You put your card in, type your PIN, that's perception, data input.
Okay.
Then the software talks to the bank system, checks your balance, verifies you, that's the decision making.
Right.
And then the mechanical parts count out the bills and push them out to you. That's the action.
So it is a robot. A very specialized one.
A specialized stationary robot designed specifically to take over one particular human task.
Okay, wait though. If the definition is just perceive, decide, act, couldn't that apply to, I don't know, lots of machines? Like, why did the sources really zero in on the ATM as the big disruptor in banking back then, and not something like, say, the early mainframe computers banks were using?
That's a good question, because the mainframe, well, it was more of an administrative tool, right? You crunch numbers in the background. The ATM was different. It was the first machine to directly, physically replace the person you interacted with, the public-facing worker.
The teller.
Exactly. Replacing that core, high-volume task. Banks were already computerizing, sure, but this specific task, the sources highlight, it was that repetitive job of the bank teller just counting out cash all day long.
So the machine was built to automate that very specific common transaction, and the story starts in London, back in 1967.
That's right, the very first cash dispenser.
Yeah.
Which is why the UK data is so valuable. It lets us see the whole life cycle right from the beginning.
Okay, so let's trace that path then. Let's unpack the timeline and the human cost.
All right.
So early on, the growth seems pretty steady, but maybe not explosive. By 1971, the UK had 1,000 ATMs. That doubled, took nearly 20 years, but it doubled to 2,000 machines by 1990.
Right, 2,000. It doesn't sound like that many machines, does it? Spread across a whole country.
No, it seems manageable.
And this is the first really crucial thing the sources point out, something for you listening to really grasp at 1990 with just those 2,000 machines.
Yeah.
15,000 full-time banking staff had already been displaced in the UK.
Wow. 15,000 from 2,000 machines.
Yeah.
That ratio that's kind of shocking. It wasn't just about speed then. It was about completely changing how things worked.
Exactly. It wasn't just counting cash faster. The machines standardized everything.
Yeah.
It removed the need for certain checks, human verification steps. It simplified the whole reconciliation process at the end of the day.
So once people started using it.
Once the public accepted it, yeah. The core job of just handing out cash, that specific teller function, it was basically designed out of the daily operation. It was like a whole category of work just evaporated.
And here's the other surprising bit. The sources mentioned the behavior change. Customers actually preferred waiting in line for the ATM
Yeah.
rather than waiting for a human teller.
It seems odd, but yeah. The public was, in a way, complicit. They chose the machine.
Why, though?
Well, convenience is the big one,
Yeah.
right? 24/7 access, plus maybe, arguably, less judgment. No small talk if you didn't want it.
Just get your money and go.
Pretty much. Those little friction points you get with human interaction, the machine just erased them. And once people preferred it, well, mass adoption was basically guaranteed.
And the speed really picked up after 1990. We jumped from 2,000 machines then to 14,000 by the year 2000. That's a huge leap.
It really is. Banks, third-party providers, they saw the economic advantage and just put them everywhere.
And the job losses?
Jumped right alongside. The sources put the cumulative figure somewhere between 30 and 35,000 lost jobs by 2000. But the ATM itself, it kept evolving. It wasn't just a cash dispenser anymore.
Ah, right. This is the mid-2000s you're talking about, when they started doing more.
Exactly. The multifunctional ATMs. Suddenly, they weren't just spitting out 20s. They could take deposits, scan your checks, let you transfer money.
Okay.
And this happens at the same time as internet banking is really taking off.
So those two things together, people had fewer and fewer reasons to actually go into a bank branch.
Precisely. And that combination, it led directly to massive numbers of physical branches closing down.
Right. And the job losses kept climbing.
Pushed close to 50,000 cumulative losses during that mid-2000s period, yeah.
And then the peak for the machine itself. When were there the most ATM?
That seems to be around 2010. The count in the UK hit about 30,000 machines. They were just everywhere. Supermarkets, corner shops, petrol stations.
They'd colonized the landscape.
You could say that.
And the total human cost, just from this one type of robot, by that peak in 2010.
The cumulative job losses directly tied to the ATM hit 60,000 by then.
60,000.
But connect that to the bigger picture the sources give us.
Oh.
The final numbers are, well, they're pretty stunning.
Go on.
The introduction of ATMs alone, just the cash machine, accounted for 25%, a full quarter of all the job losses in the UK banking industry during that whole period.
1/4 of all displacement in a massive sector like finance, from that metal box on the corner.
That's what the data indicates, replacing the equivalent of 90,000 full-time jobs in the UK. 90,000. And just to give it, the global scale reports suggest there are something like 3 million ATMs worldwide. So this UK story, it's just one example of a huge global shift.
So the ATM was wave one, the physical robot displacing people handling physical cash. And it kind of taught the industry how to automate interaction with the public.
Yeah, it set a precedent.
But the sources say it didn't stop there. Automation just diversified.
Especially after 2010 when cashless payments started taking off and maybe fewer physical ATMs were needed.
Exactly. What's really interesting is that the machine itself, the physical ATM, started to become maybe a little less central, but the lesson it taught.
Which was?
That you could standardize interaction, gain public trust, and replace human labor effectively. That lesson was immediately applied elsewhere in the bank.
Okay. So starting around 2020, maybe, as we all moved more to cards and phones,
Yeah.
the focus shifted.
Yeah, it shifted from automating the handling of physical cash to automating information processing and conversation.
So the target changed from counting money to handling data and, well, talking to people. Precisely. Yeah. And you see this diversification clearly in the later numbers. The automation machine didn't vanish. It just went fully into software, like AI-driven customer service bots.
Chatbots and virtual assistants.
Right. They stepped in, and the sources say they displaced around 5,000 call center staff in the UK. That's the ATM lesson applied to, routine conversations.
And there was another type mentioned, too, hitting the back office, the clerical work, something called intelligent document processing, IDP.
Yeah, we can't just gloss over that one.
What exactly is IDP? What kind of jobs did that replace?
Okay, so intelligent document processing basically means using smart software, often with AI, to automatically read, understand, and process really complex documents. Things that aren't just simple forms.
Like mortgage applications, insurance claims.
Exactly. Loan documents, stuff that used to need a human expert, like an underwriting clerk, to read through it all, check everything, make a judgment, and approve it.
Right, that highly specific, skilled clerical work.
And IDP software started doing large parts of that automatically.
Yeah.
Reading the documents, extracting the key info, even doing some of the verification.
And the impact on jobs there.
Also significant.
Mm.
The sources point to another 7,000 underwriting clerks displaced in the UK due to IDP adoption.
7,000 more?
Yeah. It's like the industry thought, well, if people trust a machine on the street with their actual money,
then surely they can trust an algorithm in the back office with their paperwork.
That seems to be the logic. The ATM sort of paved the way, built the trust.
It's quite a journey when you lay it out like that. Starts with a mechanical box in 1967, just counting cash. And the success of that builds the foundation economically, societally.
For today's AI systems to handle complex stuff like underwriting or customer service, 50, 60 years later.
Yeah. It's a bit sobering. The machine world isn't some far-off sci-fi thing.
Not at all. It's already here. It's operating on your phone, in the cloud. And its foundations were laid decades ago, really, in that deceptively simple box on the corner. The ATM taught us, fundamentally, to trust the machine.
They were the first scouts, weren't they? These robotic scouts handling our physical cash. And as you said, now we're moving further and further from physical money into totally cashless virtual systems. It's all just data managed by algorithms.
Completely intangible.
So if automation started by getting rid of the people who counted physical cash, and now we're basically getting rid of the physical cash itself, it does leave you with a pretty big question to think about, doesn't it? Where exactly do you think your money is now? Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep. Thank you for listening to today's podcast. Please feel free to click on the link in the description below to discover more podcasts.